Good morning. You're listening to WIFO FM Jesup, Big Dog Country 105.5 FM. It is now time for the world-famous Butch and Bob Show for this 20th day of July, and it's brought to you by O'Quinn & Associates, Murphy Builder Supply, Van's Barbecue, and First Southern Bank.
Are you looking for an insurance company that you can call and talk to a live person? Are you looking for an insurance company where you can walk in and talk to an agent? Are you looking for an insurance company that offers multiple companies so they can try and get you the best rate? If you said yes to any of these, then you need to call or come by O'Quinn & Associates Insurance Financial Services. We offer multiple companies so we can find the best fit for you. Give us a call at 385-1000 or stop by our office at 212 South First Street right here in Jesup.
Since 1946, Murphy's Builder Supply has been serving the folks of Jesup, Wayne, and surrounding counties with quality products and knowledgeable service. Matter of fact, they feel they sell service first to make sure you get exactly what you need for your home improvement projects. And with each employee at Murphy's being there for 10 years or more, you know you're talking with someone with the experience to help you with building supplies, tools, paint, and all the things you need from a full-service hardware store. The best choice in home improvement is Murphy's Builder Supply, 156 Northeast Broad Street, Jesup.
When it comes to barbecue, Van's Barbecue in Jesup is the place to be, a small family-owned business located at 1876 on the Savannah Highway. Van's Barbecue has lunch and dinner specials. Stop by or call to make an order. The number to call, 427-3358. Van's Barbecue's new manager is Sarah Van. Van's Barbecue offers potato salad, coleslaw, baked beans, and don't forget their delicious mac and cheese. Also, check out their shrimp plates, the best in town. Yes, when it comes to barbecue, head to Van's Barbecue, locally owned and operated. Stop by and tell them the Big Dog sent you. Once again, the number to order, 427-3358.
Hi, I'm Raymond Brown.
And I'm Mandy Yeomans. At First Southern Bank, our customers are like family. As a locally owned community bank, we're dedicated to helping our clients succeed.
We have loans for every need, whether it's personal or business. We have lines of credit, auto loans, equipment loans, and of course, we offer mortgages. Stop by our bank or call us at 912-588-1010 and see how First Southern Bank can help you.
Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
The following is an exclusive presentation of Jesup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
The world-famous Butch and Bob Show.
World-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. And Bob, we got a special guest on the phone with us. Take it away.
Everybody, we've got Buddy Carter this week on Thursdays. And, Buddy, appreciate you calling in. I know you want to talk about this NDAA, which stands for National Defense Authorization Act. So explain that to us.
Well, that's what we passed last week, and that's important because that funds our defense. You know, the number one responsibility of our federal government is to protect our homeland, protect our citizens, and we can only do that through a strong defense. And this NDAA, this is the 61st year in a row that we've done it. So we actually have been doing our work, and this is a good example of it. But the NDAA is so very important. It is the authorizing. Remember, we have to authorize things, then we have to appropriate for them, and that's very important. So this was the authorization for it. And it does a number of things, not the least of which it gives a much-needed and a well-deserved raise to our troops. They deserve that, and they need that. But even more importantly, in my mind, it raises their housing allowance. I tell you, it's been nothing short of despicable what they've had to endure in housing. And it's just a shame that we haven't increased the housing allowance for them like we should have. But we did this year. We addressed that. We need to do more, yes. But we did address it, and it is a good thing. So overall, it's a very good package, and I was very proud that we got it done.
The most shocking thing is bipartisan. I mean, Democrats, what was the vote?
Yeah, it was. It was bipartisan. A number of Democrats voted for it. There are some defense hawks who felt like we should have done more, and there were some who felt like they needed certain things in there. Now, I will be quite honest with you. Part of the problem, I say problem, I don't think it was a problem. I think it was a good thing. But wokeness has really infested our military, and the Republicans made it clear, the conservatives made it clear that we weren't going to stand for that. Forget about the pronouns. You need to be training people to fight. You need to be training a well-oiled machine that is going to defend our homeland and protect us from our adversaries. That needs to be your focus, not what pronoun you use or any of these other woke philosophies that they may have out there. So that was very important, and that turned some people off and caused some people not to vote for it, but not very many. Another issue that came up during that time was to reimburse military personnel for travel when they are going across state lines to get an abortion. Of course, the Supreme Court ruling, and this is something important because a lot of people said, well, the federal government outlawed abortion. No, that's not what the Supreme Court did. They simply said that it was up to the states, not up to the federal government. Yes, it has been on the books for over 50 years, but what this Supreme Court said was no, it needs to be the decision made by the states. Well, part of what was negotiated in the NDAA was to say that troops will not be paid and reimbursed for travel across state lines to get an abortion. That kind of goes back to the Hatch Amendment, which says that we won't use taxpayers' money for abortion. So it wasn't really an issue of whether they should be able to get an abortion or not, as much as it was they're not going to be reimbursed with taxpayers' money to get an abortion or to get travel to get an abortion.
And just joining us, Congressman Buddy Carter on the phone with us. What's the hot topic in Washington, D.C.?
Right now, it's the FAA. That's what we're going to be voting on today. We're voting on reauthorizing the Federal Aviation Authority. Any of you who fly, you know that airlines have had problems, and this is something that we have to do every 5 years. We did amendments last night. We voted at 9 o'clock. We had 22 votes, finished up right after 11, so not too bad of a night at all. But now today we're going to vote on the entire bill. I do think it will pass. Interestingly, there was an issue in the FAA that it did involve our district and involved the airport in Savannah, and that is at the Reagan Airport, which is the closest airport here in Washington, D.C. Now, Dulles is another airport that serves this area, but it's, in traffic, it can be 45 minutes away. So there is what's called a perimeter rule, which limits the number of flights that can come into Reagan Airport. Well, it's a 60-year-old rule, and I actually was a co-sponsor of an amendment, I should say, that would lift that rule and allow for 7 more slots at Reagan Airport. This is something that Delta Airlines, a Georgia company, of course, they were very supportive of this, and they wanted it. But the smaller airports, like Savannah, we have a direct flight to Reagan. And that's what the perimeter rule is to protect those smaller airports and make sure they get a direct flight. Well, obviously, I want to protect it. I fly out of it twice a week, and I want to make sure we got a direct flight. But at the same time, I wanted to support Delta, and we were given assurances that if they increase, and the 7 slots was a compromise. At first, they wanted 22. Then they came down to 7. Unfortunately, that amendment did not pass last night. It did not pass, and it's not going to be lifted, so the 60-year-old perimeter rule will remain in effect. It was really a lot of these airports out west, that like Salt Lake City and some in Texas, that wanted to have a direct flight. And I can't hardly blame them. But at the same time, we needed to protect our small airports like Savannah as well.
Buddy, a couple of weeks ago, I guess I saw a movie called Sound of Freedom. I don't know if you heard of this movie. Fox News is talking a lot about it. I know some theaters. It's gotten a lot of publicity about child trafficking, sex trafficking. Does that resonate up in Washington, D.C.? I didn't realize it was such a big issue. But this movie's pretty impactful. Have you seen it?
I haven't, but I will Monday night or Tuesday night. Excuse me. We're coming back Tuesday. We're in next week, Tuesday through Friday, and it's going to be shown here at the Capitol on Tuesday night. The speaker is hosting at least the Republicans, and it's bipartisan. We've invited everyone to see it, so we are looking forward to seeing it on Tuesday night. The main actor in that, and forgive me, I know I'll butcher his last name, Jim Klekovic or whatever. He was here at the Capitol last week. He was the one who played Jesus in the movie, and he was here last week. I didn't have the opportunity to meet him, but I know there was a big buzz about him being here, and then the buzz is about next Tuesday night when we're going to see the movie.
If you're a parent and you see that movie, you won't let your kid out of your sight. I mean, it's just scary. I mean, at the end they roll credits, but they also put statistics on how many kids are impacted and how many kids are in slavery. So, I mean, just pretty impactful movie. So I was just wondering if it had any buzz in Washington or anybody was discussing that topic.
It does, and Bob, that's something that is important in our district. Remember, we have the entire coast of Georgia. I-95 runs through our district, right straight down the coastline, and I-95 is a corridor for this, and this is a problem that we've got in our district as well.
Kind of scary. I always want to ask you about the Republican candidates are out talking, making their pitch, but a lot of them are talking about if they get elected, they don't want to fund the war in Ukraine anymore. So your thoughts on that? How important is that, and how do you see that war? It seems like it just drags on.
Well, it does, and in fact, I was just reading the New York Times article just a few minutes ago that we're spending $1.3 billion in today, and you're right. You wonder if we're in another Vietnam now. Thank God we don't have troops on the ground like we did in Vietnam. But when I use that analogy, I'm trying to say that it just seems like it's never going to end. And certainly Ukraine has gotten to that point, and it has become a campaign issue. And you're right. Some of the candidates, particularly in the Republican primary, have said that they want to stop this. President Trump, former President Trump, has said that, look, I would negotiate a truce to this, and certainly, that's not surprising to hear that from him. He's very confident that he would be able to do that, and certainly that's what we all want. We want it to end. We don't want it to continue, but we want Ukraine to be successful. So it's a difficult situation, but that's okay. That's what we are up here for, is to solve difficult situations, and it's something that we've got to work our way through. We've got to make sure that democracy is saved in this world, and we're the leader of democracy. We have a role in that. We can't force them to the table, but at the same time, we can certainly facilitate that. It's going to have to be Ukraine and Russia who bring this to an end. At this point, Ukraine has said that we're not going to give up anything. In fact, we want Crimea back. You had that before this part of the war even started. We want it back, and I get Zelensky and where he's coming from, and his philosophy of why should we give up anything? You invaded us. We shouldn't have to give up any land. But at the same time, we do hope that we can see an end in sight.
No talk of a treaty at all, right? I mean, that's you think the two
not
sides.
Not to our knowledge. Now, there may be some negotiations going on that we don't know about, but not to my knowledge, no.
Right. And your thoughts on this Republican race? Like I said, it seems like the former president is way ahead. Do you see anybody able to make any traction at all against him? I mean, he continues. It looks like there's more indictments coming. I mean, it's going to be an interesting situation. I don't know if we've ever seen a candidate running for president under indictment. So where's the Republican? Does the Republican Party go somewhere else, or are they going to stick with him?
Well, it seems like every time he gets indicted, that his numbers go up. It's unbelievable, to be quite honest with you. But it certainly seems like the president our former President Trump is unbeatable at this point. But you never know. We still got a long ways to go. And but none of the other candidates seem to be getting any traction. Ron DeSantis, who I served with in the House for 4 years, kind of started out hot out of the block and has fizzled a little bit. So that's concerning. The first debate, I believe, is going to be next month, and the parameters or the bar that has been set in order for them to be able to get into the debate. I think there's 5 or 6 of them so far who have met those prerequisites to get in. So, we still got a long ways to go, but right now it certainly looks like former President Trump's in a good spot.
It's going to be interesting. How about the district? I know the car plant's getting a lot of notoriety and a lot of news. Tell us about that. A lot of jobs come to that area.
Absolutely. The largest single economic development project in the history of the state of Georgia, $5.5 billion investment, creating 8,100 jobs, and then again probably that many more jobs in ancillary businesses. So, the impact is enormous. I mean, this is an economic impact we've never seen, quite honestly, particularly here in the 1st Congressional District. But it brings about a lot of challenges. They are kind of good challenges that you would rather have than not have. But, you got to worry about you got to be concerned, I should say, about the labor market. You got to be concerned about infrastructure, particularly housing. Where are these people going to live? Where are they going to come from? But we do have somewhat of an example to learn from, and that is what happened over in West Point when Kia built the plant over there. And we've been over there, and we've learned from what they experienced. So that's given us a kind of a step ahead. So that's a good thing. But it is very exciting. I was out there. I was able to visit last week and had a great visit. I will tell you, it is enormous. If you've ridden by on I-16 and you see it, you wonder, cranes look like toothpicks out there. But it is as deep as it is wide. And when you drive by it on I-16, you really can't appreciate just how deep it is. But it is a big piece of land.
And for folks who do not know, what will they be manufacturing there at this new car plant?
Electric vehicles. And this is going to be, when it's completed, it'll be the largest EV factory in America. And right here in the 1st District, that's pretty good. But they're going to be turning out, if you will, electric vehicles. And the proximity to the port is one of the attractions that has led them to this area, and certainly, the Georgia ports just continue to impress. I mean, what an economic engine that we have here, not only for our district, but for the whole Southeast. They are just an economic engine, and we are very fortunate to have the Georgia ports.
But you mentioned the labor market. I mean, I drive around Jesup, Wayne County. I still see signs on restaurants where they're seeking help. I went to see my niece up in Roswell July 4th weekend. I stopped in Dublin at a Cracker Barrel, and there was nobody in line. I walked up to the hostess, and she said it's going to be a 45-minute wait. And I looked inside. There's tables everywhere. I said, how can it be a 45-minute wait? There's all kinds of tables. She says, we don't have cooks. We don't have this. So it addressed the labor market. I mean, all these places having help wanted, but can't find people that want the jobs. It seems like nobody wants to work. I've never seen the country where people just don't want to work.
Well, you're right, and that's a result, I feel like, of the pandemic and the amount of money that was sent out during that time, and people have become dependent on that. Now, that should be wearing off and should be waning. We're not sending as much money out now as we were at one time, but still, that was for a lot of people, it was a generational change to get those kind of checks they were getting from the federal government. But at some point, we got to address this. Yes, we're happy to have these good-paying jobs that the Hyundai plant's going to bring and that the other manufacturer is going to bring, but it also causes a shortage of workers in in other places, like like the service industry, and they've had to increase their pay and their benefits, and still they're struggling to get people. I've experienced the same thing you described. When I go into a restaurant and I say, geez, you got empty tables. What's the problem? Well, I got plenty of tables. I just don't have anybody to wait on yet.
Right.
And it is a real problem.
Right. Anything else we need to discuss before I let you go? Anything on your mind?
Well, again, we're in, today's our last day. We're going to vote on that FAA reauthorization today. Next week, hopefully we will get to the Farm Bill. I don't know whether we will or not. If we don't, then we're going to be out in the month of August, and we'll be in the district. And that's a very important time for us to be back in the district and get out of this bubble here and back into the real world, if you will. But we still got some things to do before September 30th. And if we get FAA done today, and I think we will, then we've still got to get the Farm Bill done, and then we got to get those appropriations done. And that's going to be a heavy, heavy lift. I'm telling you, getting 12 appropriation bills passed before September the 30th to make sure that the government doesn't shut down, that's a heavy lift.
When you were here last time, you're optimistic the Farm Bill will pass, right? You're still optimistic about that?
I am. We had a meeting yesterday of the Southeast states, and we were talking about our priorities. Of course, as you know, ag is number one industry in the state of Georgia and continues to be, and it's extremely important. Our blueberry farmers are extremely important. We've got to get them added to the insurance so that we don't, every time we have a freeze or we lose the crop, we don't have to go back every time. We need them included so that they will, that they'll have assurances that they can stay in business when they have a bad year or have a natural catastrophe. I've also got a forest restoration bill that is really good. When you're talking about planting trees, you're talking about investment of sometimes, anywhere from 20 to 23 years before you can harvest. Well, after 7 years, you've written it all off tax-wise. If something happens between the 7th year or the 8th year and the 23rd year or the year before you can harvest, then you're just out of luck. And we experienced that when we had the hurricanes. And what my bill will do will say that they can get credit for that. They can get some tax credits for that if they replant. And that's what we want them to do. We don't want them to turn it into solar farms or condos. We need our forest. That's what's going to keep us going.
Buddy, always a pleasure to have you here. Again, thanks for being on the show, and hopefully when you get back in the district, we'll have you back in studio. That was a lot of fun a couple weeks ago.
It was. Okay, thank y'all.
Take care. All right, Congressman Buddy Carter here on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup. We appreciate the Congressman taking time out of his busy schedule to be here on the show with us here on 105.5 FM, Big Dog Country, WIFO. I haven't had a chance to ride by where that Hyundai EV plant is being built. Have you?
I have not, no.
And when you get to 16, do you go east into Savannah or you go west out?
I try to avoid Savannah at all.
And they're doing all that construction right now on that intersection of 95 and 16, trying to make it a big clover leaf where before you were basically taking your life in your hands as you're trying to go on the interstate as people were trying to go off the interstate. And so they've been working on that, making a big clover leaf there. And so that's a tough area to go through right now, the intersection of 95 and 16. But the biggest economic one-time construction plant in the state of Georgia. We got some big stuff here in the state of Georgia, and that thing is going to be huge. They're going to be pumping out some EVs, Bob. You can go up there and get you one, plug it in, come home.
I'll pass.
Of course, you'll have to go to a Hyundai dealer. You won't be able. You want me to go up to the door there and say, "Hey, I'd like to have one of these out here." You're hearing something the other day where Walmart is committed to putting these charging stations at that, and they talked about 80% of the population of the United States lives within a 10 to 15 minute drive of a Walmart, and so if they can put charging stations that in there. But I mean, how many charging stations would you have to have? Because it's not like you go up there and within 4 minutes or something like that, or 5 minutes, and fill up your vehicle. You're sitting there between 20, 30, 40, 45 minutes based on what kind of charging system they have to charge your vehicle up. I mean, you could have lines a long way, but they're hoping that most people will charge up their vehicles overnight at their home is what they're hoping for.
I'll still go with the scenario. Hurricane comes flying through, electricity's out, nobody can get their car charged, and they're stuck on the island, they're stuck on where they're at. In case they're all.
Yeah, well, you charge it up before the hurricane gets there, of course.
Give me that gasoline. Let me get the heck out of it.
And you charge it up before it comes, but it's not like you can take extra batteries with you because these are huge batteries. It's not like you throw an extra battery in your trunk or something like that.
My question is, when they knock out the electricity, what do you do?
Oh, so
you can't charge a battery without electricity?
No, you just head west and north and try to get out of it all, I guess.
Good luck.
So, but the EVs are the wave of the future, or you wouldn't have Hyundai building this, multi-billion-dollar plant there that's going to, employ a lot of folks. And when you have a big plant come in like that, it's you're going to have high-paying jobs compared to a lot of jobs. Good, you can say pay and not say high-paying. Good-paying jobs, benefits, and stuff like that. And it's like Congressman Carter says, it takes away from other businesses that can't pay as much, don't have the benefits and so forth. And so you have a change, they'll tell them how many applicants they're going to have there at Hyundai. And when that happens and they have those, I don't know how many people they're going to employ. I'm sure they're going to have 3 shifts going. That's going to take away from other areas, which is going to make more difficult for these other places that can't pay as much and have the benefits to keep people employed. Yeah, so people are all worried about AI taking away jobs, but you can't find enough people to work right now as it is. Yeah,
see if they can find enough people to be employed at that place. So be interesting.
Well, I'm sure they will. There'll be folks coming from all over the place to try to get one of those good-paying jobs there at a car manufacturing plant, because they usually do pay pretty well when you work, no matter who it is, whether it's Chevy, Ford, Hyundai, Toyota, Nissan, Dodge, whatever the case may be. These plants pay pretty decent and have good benefits. And so it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. But it's amazing how he says the cranes look like toothpicks out there. There's so many. I wonder where all these cranes came from, They got cranes after cranes out there, pulling stuff, building the buildings out there. They look like toothpicks. There's so many cranes out there in that lot area, empty area there where they're building this big plant. All right, Bob, what's going on? Anything locally or sports-wise or anything you want to talk about this morning?
Well, congrats to Austin Carter, state champion in golf over there at Alma, Georgia. So that was nice to see. And that state golf match taking place today. Should have another state champion as well. So, again, we'll keep you posted on that. But Austin Carter, state champion in the 13U boys recreation golf tournament over at Alma, Georgia. So congrats to him. And a couple of third-place finishes in tennis. In 10U boys, Grayson Thompson finished third overall. And in 12U boys, Nick Carter placed third in state. So congratulations to them. So nice stories in recreation. Continue to have a nice summer as they continue to chalk up state champions. Good stuff.
Like to see those state champions here from Wayne County as they get a lot of different sports. We do have several state champions, not only district but state, which is shows well for our recreation department here in Wayne County.
I'm getting excited about football. So it'll be 2 weeks from tomorrow when scrimmage tees off.
2 weeks from tomorrow, that first scrimmage game for Wayne County High School Yellow Jacket football team.
So softball's got a game today against Bacon County. Should be a good match. They beat them 2-1 Tuesday over there, so it should be another good matchup. As all these sports have these off-season condition and summer programs going on. Everybody's busy. So
when is Wayne County's first regular season softball game? Do you know off?
I think it's early August.
It's usually early August sometimes, yeah. And so girls softball will be starting soon, and then Wayne County High School football will be starting.
Cross country.
Cross country will be another fall sport there at Wayne County High School and middle school. Volleyball is also fall. Okay. It's hard to remember all of them. Yeah.
It's so hot.
A lot of kids participating in those sports, and that's a good thing right there. A good thing to be part of a sport. Develops yourself physically, mentally. You're part of a team. It's good to be part of a sports team.
The Open's underway. They teed off 2:00 in the morning our time, so that's what time the coverage started.
5 or 6 hours. I'm not sure where they're at, but they're 5 or 6 hours ahead of us over there. And the British Open, as we know here in America, called British Open. They call it the Open over there, but it's going on right now. Is it one of those golf courses like it's out in the middle of a field somewhere with a
lot of bunkers?
A lot of bunkers. Like, all we're going to do is just fill it in where the World War II bombs hit, and we're just going to fill it in with sand. I look at it sometimes, it looks like a big pasture out there. Here's where the Germans bomb, and we're just going to fill it up with sand and throw a green out there, and it's just it's so much different, seeing some of those golf courses over there in the northern England and southern Scotland area than it is seeing golf courses here.
Good stuff. I'm just glad USA Today is televising it. So I still don't have NBC.
They're still fighting it out on my pay, huh?
Interesting story. AJC didn't do the retraction, but they fired that reporter that wrote that article that got the university all upset about all the number of players they accused or stated was involved in sexual misconduct and sexual assault at university. The university refuted that adamantly, and
there was no proof.
They fired the
no proof
reporter,
at all.
So.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a story that just came out of thin air, and this guy was trying to make a name for himself by publicizing something negative about Georgia.
Got to have facts.
You got to have facts, and you would think that with coming from like AJC or WSB in Atlanta or something like that, or any reputable TV station or newspaper, something like that. You get your facts and you check them. It's not like reading stuff on the internet. I mean, they can put anything on there they want. People to read stuff on the internet and they think it's the truth. But you would think that coming from AJC that it would be the facts. But it just seems like this guy just pulled this out of thin air. There's no facts. There's no proof. There's no nothing.
I think a 25-year reporter would know better. So.
Yeah. But I don't know, Bob. It's a shame that it had to happen like this, and they did the right thing by letting the guy go by publicizing something like that had no basis, no merit to it at all.
Sad stuff.
Yeah, it is. As you mentioned when we were talking off the air earlier, when you're on top, when you get to the top of the heat, there's people trying to pull you down. Trying to make names for themselves. A lot of times you don't hear anything about anything at all until someone becomes popular or a team gets on top or something becomes notable or something like that, and then suddenly you start hearing all kinds of stuff. But that's just the way it is, Bob. Build things up and then tear them back down. Yeah. Well, let's hope the Braves can bounce back today after 4 losses in a row now. Just want to say, what are y'all thinking? Get back to work now, as they'll be taking on Arizona today. And would you like to be sitting at Truist Park today with temperatures in the mid-90s, watching the baseball game? Would you go out there and watch it low? I'm not sure what the temperature up there in Atlanta is going to be. It's going to be 98 to 100 here, so which means it's going to be about 5 degrees cooler there, so it's going to be 93, 94, 95, somewhere up there, and sunny. So it's just going to be hot sitting out there at Truist Park.
I would like to have been to that 16-13 game. I told somebody, if you're a father and you took your son to that game, you took him to the right game.
16-13.
I mean, you see a lot of scoring. That's the game a kid wants to be
like
at right there. That's like an all-time
football game right there,
I was telling somebody my first ball game I went to, my dad took me Bob Gibson was pitching for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Steve Blass was pitching. And I think the first 7 innings there wasn't a hit in the game, and I was like, I was bored to death as a 10-year-old.
Nothing anybody ever hit that baseball.
Everybody's enjoying it, but as a kid, you just want to see a lot of, you want to see hits and runs. And I thought about kids being at that 16, 13. They were probably in hard.
They're probably having
time of their lives. So that's the game you want to be if you go to as a kid. So hopefully the Braves can get a win.
They got to get a win today. You got to stop this and stop the slide and turn right around and get back to where you were before the All-Star break. All right, Bob,
there's still 9 games up.
Yeah, there's still 9 games up, but still you got to stop that and stop the bleeding and get back to winning. All right, Bob, you have a good day.
Okay.
All right.